Hi, my name is Laura Burgoyne, and I'm excited to be joining together with my sister Connie Blackwood in the NOSA Unleashed podcast. Here, we want to expose the stigma surrounding mental health issues by illuminating and discussing real-life challenges and obstacles, keeping us paralyzed and fearful to move forward. Let us inspire you to believe there's more to life than what you're currently experiencing. You can rise from your despair and find hope for the future. It's time to end the silence, remove the stigma of mental health, and to pursue the path to purpose and fulfillment. We will do this together because no one stands alone. Welcome back to the NOSA Unleashed podcast. I'm Laura Burgoyne, and I'm here joined with Connie Blackwood, my sister, in another discussion regarding identity. And today we wanted to talk about and tackle the subject of how do we break through? How do we break through all of the confusion, all of the mess of who we are or who we aren't, or our lack of identity, and really find out the truth, the nit and gritty, and the foundational things that make up who we are. And so welcome, Connie, to this conversation. I'm so glad that you're here with me again.
Thank you for having me again. I want to start off with just saying that each one of us is special and unique, and we're not meant to be like everybody else. We're meant to be ourselves. And breaking through the rubble has a huge part in us not only accepting that we're supposed to be different, but embracing that we're supposed to be different. You know, we weren't called to fit in other people's shoes. We weren't created to be someone else. We were created to be us. And there's only one of us in the world. I mean, no one has your exact fingerprint. No one has your exact DNA. No one had, you are you. No one is exactly like you. And I believe there's a purpose in that. And I think the closer that we get to God, the more we discover about that. And part of that is because we are creating God's image, right? Right in the beginning, it says that we were created in his image. So the closer that we get to experiencing God, the more that we discover who we truly are, right? And I know this from my own personal experience. The closer that I grew to God, it was like almost the greater clarity I had about who I am. And the first time that I really had an opportunity to rediscover myself, I guess is a good way to put it, or rediscover parts of myself that had gone missing, was when I went off to college. It was Bible college. And in that time, it was one of our purposes was to grow close with God. And through that, I found giftings I didn't know I had. I realized things about myself that I didn't know. And it was almost like the closer that I got to him, the more I felt like my true self. And the more that I had confidence in those things, in those giftings, in those things that were coming out of myself. And it was things that were uniquely me and that I had buried because of my traumas, because of, influences in my life, and me always considering myself not good enough. All of those things got buried in the rubble. And that was 2 solid years where I was able to push through that stuff and really figure out who I was. And then, of course, when I left, I went back to my old patterns and allowed those pieces to go back into being buried or hidden or disappeared for a while. And then once again, when I realized I had these missing pieces, I went back to that same strategy and pushed in with God again. And I've been doing that for a long time. And I would say I know myself way better now than I have throughout my entire life, because little pieces keep getting revealed to me the closer that I grow to God. It's like more clarity from the cloudiness. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, in your braid and you're pulling the rocks away and you can see that little glimmer of light, and then you keep pulling more away and it gets bigger. It's kind of like that, just
Mm-hmm.
sifting through the rubble and then you're like so excited because you're like, that's who I am. And it gives you so much confidence to be able to walk through that. Like, I'm telling you right now, had you told me I was doing a podcast 3 years ago, I'd have told you you're insane. And because I would have never done this 3 years ago. But
Right.
God has shown me that he's given me gifts that I don't even know I have. And
Mm-hmm.
he's been walking me through this process of discovering these things that I didn't even know I had in me.
Right. It's funny that you had some of the biggest growth, when you went away to college, because as you were saying that, I was thinking, okay, well, I've had a lot of growth in my life, but when was the first most significant time? It was when I left high school and I joined a 1-year discipleship program called Master's Commission. That was my greatest year of growth. And I look back on that time and, there was a lot of inner healing. There was a lot of walking with God, letting him reveal, lies that I had believed about myself, all those kind of things, healing trauma. But it was also the greatest time of growth in me, like discovering my giftings, discovering, like the talents that God had given me, things that I had, neglected or never even known about in the first place. And when I think about the focus of that year, it was all about getting close to God, all about discovering who he was, all about, you know, growing that deeper intimacy in your relationship with God so that you can, I would ask him my questions and you know what? He would answer me. Right. And so I think there's so much to what you're saying, Connie, about if we want to find who we truly are, then we need to press in and pursue God and not only find out who he is, but find out who he says we are because he's the one who created us. Not only were we created in his image, but he created us individually. Like he knows every aspect of who we are. He knows the hairs on our head. He knows our thoughts before we even think them. Like he knows absolutely everything about us. So who better to go to find out who we truly are than him himself, and so this topic is huge, but it's not readily talked about. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about, oh, find yourself within, you can master these skills on your own. Well, that will only last you so long. And really, what is it based on? It has no solid foundation. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to have a sense of your identity and you want it based on something solid, something that will last, from my experience, the only place you're going to find that is in God.
Yeah.
And another story that actually came to mind, Connie, as you were speaking, was for the first 19 years of my life, it wouldn't matter what room I went into, I always felt rejected. Like there was just something over my life that it wouldn't matter if I had 20 friends in the room. As soon as I entered, like it was just this something came over me that I just completely felt rejected. And it wasn't until I was 20 years old in an inner healing session that God allowed me to see like a vision or a dream kind of thing where he showed me the day of my birth. And he showed me where that started for me. And I'm not sure if this is the right time or place, but do you want me to share that story, Connie?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Because it
So
leads into
anyways,
what I'm going to say.
okay, perfect. So anyways, this picture that I had, um I saw in this dreamlike vision this nurse. She was pushing an incubator down the hallway, and there was a little baby in the incubator. And at the time, I had no idea what I was seeing. I had no idea that the baby was me, but she was pushing the baby down the hallway, and then she turned to go into a hospital room. And she turned and she started opening the door and taking the incubator into the hospital room. There was a woman on the bed. And as soon as the woman saw the baby in the incubator, she turned her back away from the baby. And instantly, I felt all those feelings of rejection again. And in that moment, God revealed to me that that baby was me and the woman on the bed was my mom. So on my very day of birth, I believed I was rejected based on that moment in the hospital with my mom. I had no idea of this, right? And so I'm sitting in this revelation that, oh my gosh, this this spirit of rejection, or this, stronghold of rejection in my life, started on the day I was born. So anyways, the ladies who were working with me to work through this inner healing said, okay, that's what Satan wanted you to believe in that moment. And so I'm in this encounter, and I'm like literally feeling the depths of these emotions. And up until this time, the entire vision was silent, right? So anyways, the ladies that were walking me through this said, where is Jesus? Look for Jesus in the room. And it took a while. I couldn't see him. And I don't know how long it was. It felt like a really long time, but all of a sudden it was like the volume turned on in this vision. So no longer was it silent, but I could finally start hearing things. So not only could I hear myself crying, I could hear my mom crying, and I could hear the nurse speaking. And she was saying, I'm sorry, Grace, but you can't hold her. She's too vulnerable right now. She cannot be held. And so then they kept saying, okay, well, where's Jesus? Where's Jesus? And so then all of a sudden, I never saw Jesus's face. I never saw his body or anything like that. All of a sudden, I saw a hand come and came through the incubator and held my hand. And then I saw his other hand go and hold my mom's hand. And as soon as he did that, instantly we both stopped crying, and that spirit of rejection left. So here I am in this encounter, Jesus holding both of our hands, and the spirit of rejection leaving. And they said, okay, what does Jesus want to tell you in this moment? Right? And it was that I was wanted, I was loved, right? And I didn't realize, but the reason I was in that incubator, and I went and I asked my mom afterwards, I'm like, Mom, this is the encounter that I just had. Can you verify that any of this is true? Because I had no idea. How do I know what happened on my day of birth? So sure enough, I asked my mom, I told her the entire story. She's like, yep, all of that is true. And then I'm like, why was I even in the incubator? Because I really didn't know anything about my birth, right? And she's like, oh, well, your blood was toxic. Like, you took in meconium. Like, they had to do an entire blood transfusion on you on the day that you were born. Otherwise, you would have died, right? And it was just like this revelation that not only was I loved, like my mom loved me, but the reason she turned her back on me was because she couldn't stand looking at me crying and not be able to console me and not be able to do anything. So that was her coping mechanism of trying to handle her own pain and grief in that moment. But I took it as rejection, and Satan totally capitalized on that in my life. And that was a huge stronghold in my life for 20 years of my life. Right. And so, for God to bring me that revelation that not only was I not rejected, but I was deeply loved. I have never really struggled with that kind of rejection ever again. And those are the kind of revelations we need in our life. We need God to be able to speak truth into those traumas of our life. And some of them we might not even be aware of. I had no idea this happened on my day of birth. Absolutely no idea. So I don't know why I had to share that story, but I hope that it ministers to someone who will be listening to it. And Connie, you said it triggered a thought for yourself, so go ahead.
Knowing God's acceptance and being able to fully accept ourselves means that we're no longer reliant on the acceptance of others. And it's so in line with what you were talking about, right? Like, God showed you how immensely you are loved, not only by your mom, but by him. Because he joined you two, right? In that room. He's the one who held both of your hands. And he fully accepted you from the very first moment of your birth. Like, I think that's so powerful to know that even in the midst of our rubble, in the midst of our shame, in the midst of all of the things that we are, that the negative things that we don't want to even think about, God has accepted us and loved us as we are.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to accept ourselves. And the things that we don't like about ourselves, we can grow in, we can change, right? Like, but to accept that that is who we are at this moment and walk that out with him is powerful, because that's the way we transform. That's the way that we grow. That's the way that we heal those pieces. We can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that came to mind is that I've had people come to me and go, oh yeah, well, that was your experience. I know God and nothing like that has happened for me. I think my challenge to you is, do you know about God or do you know God? Because it's two different things. I mean, you can read the Bible and know all about him and never experience him on a personal level. It's the experience of him on a personal level that changes you. That's the moments where you, like Laura experienced, where you actually have an encounter with God that changes you forever and heals you and frees you. And you can't do that just by reading about him. It has to be real. And so I challenge you that if you are one of those people that has been like, oh, this doesn't work for me, I would encourage you just to open yourself up and just talk to him and be open to hearing back from him, because he wants to speak to you. He wants you to have a relationship, to have a conversation. He doesn't want you to do this alone.
And the thing with that too, Connie, though, is that it takes time and intentionality.
It
right?
does,
Like
yeah.
a lot of times we're like, okay, well, I'll carve out 5 minutes of my day to read 3 scriptures. And, maybe we'll think about that later in the day. But no, like if I gave my husband 3 minutes a day, we would not have a very good relationship, you know?
Oh, that's
So
true.
we need to be investing time. We need to be investing our energy, our resources into the relationships that we find worthwhile. And there's no better relationship that you can invest your energy, your time, your attention into than your relationship with God, because that is the place you're going to experience the greatest amount of growth, the greatest amount of healing and transformation in your life.
It's also the place where you're going to find your true self.
That's right.
Where it's not going to be hidden, it's not going to be buried, and you're going to be able to walk that in confidence. And I think, I've seen so many courses on how to regain your confidence, and so much of it is just being able to embrace who you are. Well, how do you embrace who you are if you don't know, right? So this whole thing is circular, right? Like the more that you know about yourself, the more you can walk in confidence. The closer you are to God, the more you know about yourself, right? It's all linked. It all has a purpose. And God designed us this way. He designed us so that we would rely on him and lean on him. And it's through him that we discover what we're truly supposed to do with our lives, our purpose, our dreams, our visions for our life. That's where they come to place. That's where they come alive.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you are like, I don't even know where to start. Maybe you don't even have a community there. And I believe in most church communities, there are bodies that believe in inner healing. They believe in dealing and healing these traumas in our life. And I would encourage you that no matter where you are, to search out those kind of ministries that will help walk with you through these things, because you're not also called to do it alone. I've never walked through these traumatic events by myself. Like it's always been with, at least 2 or 3 other people in the same room guiding me and praying as we're doing this, and following the leading of the Holy Spirit. And so there's many different avenues you can take. We're in Alberta, and so some here are called inner healing. There's also Sozo. Both Connie and I have been trained in the Sozo method. There's so many different kinds out there, but search it out. Search out some kind of ministry that can help walk you through your trauma, that can help journey through these things with you, because it will be integral in you stepping into your truest identity and finding out who God created you to be.
And
Is there anything final you want to say, Connie?
no, I was just going to say, and unearthing our true selves is a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was a timid person. I was shy. I hid. I was quiet. Now I share my opinion. You know, I'm not obnoxious about it, but I actually share my opinion, and I didn't before. You know, I actually go up to people and start conversations. I didn't do that before because I'd shut down so much of who I was that I stopped experiencing people. I stopped experiencing life in a lot of ways. And so I just really encourage you, even if you start small, start, because the more that you are yourself, the more freedom and joy you'll experience on a day-to-day basis. And I don't know about you, but I would rather live my life than survive it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to mention before we end for today that if you need any further supports, if you're looking for mentorship, we do offer one-on-one mentorship at NOSA Foundation. So you're welcome to head to our website at nosafoundation.com. We also have resources there. All of our previous webinars are there, so you can, even watch those and walk through some of the other topics that we have, talked about over the last year and a half. And you can just find other resources there. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need more supports. And we look forward to chatting with you all next time on the NOSA Unleashed podcast. Bye. Thanks for tuning in. Join us next time on the NOSA Unleashed podcast.